So let's start today's webinar. I guess people will add during the. Okay. So people will add. Okay, so we have today Muhammad Salman, the Managing Director of Avantas Technology Accelerator, who is finding the way to expand blockchain technology solutions for government entities, international bodies, and large-scale enterprises. And as in a hub company, we also have like three main branches and interest in blockchain, AI, and cybersecurity. And I am very pleased to talk with Muhammad about his topic, pandemic management system powered by blockchain and AI. And Muhammad, uh, you can share with us the idea of what is pandemic management system is, what your company is doing, and how it will change our future. Okay.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me, and thank you for everyone joining in this situation of pandemic these days. And especially, I pray for everyone's goodwill and at the same time good health wherever you are. Stay safe and stay blessed. So today we are like discussing something again very timely and needed subject, which is the COVID management. Like we have heard about the COVID a lot of time, but we need to know how different aspects other than healthcare itself is helping in the counter of the COVID situation. And one of that is the digital transformation solutions. So we will be discussing one particular project, which is helping different government authorities, healthcare officials, so on and so forth, to counter the situation of the COVID. And as the name suggests, it is a pandemic management system for monitoring, control, and communication of outbreak with integrity and intelligence. That's what the topic of today is. That how pandemic can be managed with the AI and blockchain. So if you will see these two elements of integrity and intelligence, they are coming from the respective technology. The integrity part is coming from the blockchain side, and of course, the intelligence, as the name itself suggests, it is coming from the AI side. So this is the topic of our discussion for next half an hour. I'll present, and then I'll be having a dialogue with Sergey, and we'll also be asking you guys to put on any kind of a question. Even if during my presentation, if there is a question, please feel free, and we will address it promptly. So I'll move on and start my presentation about this project and what is the benefit it is bringing to the world. So the approach was very simple, that we didn't want some new technology solution for just pacing up the existing process. It's an opportunity. COVID has bring us different opportunities. One of that is to change our processes and the way we work in general. So I think this is the time we can take things from caterpillar to butterfly rather than just caterpillar to faster caterpillar. We don't want things from going manual to just a faster digital process. It's an opportunity to use the emerging technologies, and that can bring power to the data, people, and processes. Of course, all the combo will be helpful for the covered management situation. These were the pillars of the design of the system. We didn't plan it for one particular stage. The first pillar is it's a journey driven approach we took. We didn't plan the pandemic management only for one stage. Normally there are like many plenty of track and trace solutions which are addressing basically the first stage of the pandemic, which was the response. Now currently the whole world is going through with the recovery stage, the second stage, and then there will be the third stage, that will be the prevention of the next outbreak or potentially the next COVID. Beyond COVID, there can be an opportunity or possibility of a next outbreak with some other virus. So we have to be prepared for that situation. The whole dilemma of the world is that why we were caught short for this situation in COVID-19, because we didn't have the data. Like if you go for the next pillar we are using is the data driven approach. So because we were not having this approach with us in the very beginning of this year, we didn't have any kind of a data acquisition sharing, security, privacy, keeping it private, and also with the full of analytics. So this was a missing link. That was the reason why the whole world was not very effective in responding to the COVID situation. Now things are improving, but still we need more effective and efficient acquisition, data acquisition softwares and tools. Also sharing, because COVID is the one situation where only one authority cannot deal with it. It has to be a team game. It has to be law enforcement agencies, healthcare authorities, so on and so forth. Other private and public partnerships is required. So the sharing of the data is very critical in this whole pandemic management. Then we are dealing with two different types of data. Both are very critical. One is the citizen data, and the other one is the healthcare data. So the administrative or citizen data and healthcare data, if we know that these are the most critical or sensitive kind of data, so we need to have a wonderful system for the security of this data, and at the same time we need to keep the privacy factor very much into the consideration when it comes to these types of data. And finally, without analytics, it's of no use. So acquiring data, sharing and keeping it private and secure is one thing, and performing the analytics for the decision makers is another thing, so that they don't work in the in the dark, and they do like insightful decision making. And last but not the least pillar of this design was that we were very beginning, we were, in the very beginning we realized that just like one single department or authority cannot handle pandemic situation, similarly one single technology also will not be able to handle the situation. You need to have an integration of different technologies, AI, blockchain, IoT, and the legacy technology as well, to bring value and come upfront to do the integration. Similarly, then there is an integration required for the processes and also the different segments of the society as well. So it's an integration driven approach you need to use before the use of technology. Like technology comes later, the overall process has to be upfront to how the technology needs to be designed. So these are the three parameters we followed when we were designing this project for the pandemic management. These are some tangible benefits like operational success of monitoring, controlling, and communication in the pandemic situation. Very importantly, governments and authorities are concerned about the reduced operational expenditures, because again, software is one like a thing that you need to renew the licenses, and it costs sometimes, if especially when you are connecting it with on an ecosystem. So you need to be cost effective as well. So this solution is on that side as well. Heightened data operability and reconciliation. For example, like if there are different departments involved handling pandemic situation, you need a good strong uh, interoperability between the system. One authority is using one system, or let's suppose they are using Oracle based system, the other authority is using some SAP based system, the third one is using some other like proprietary system or open source system. So you need a layer of connectivity, and this is also the benefit of the system that it was bringing, beside blockchain and AI. So on, so forth. There are other benefits as well. On the left side of the screen, you can see we can also share the presentation deck later on, or whosoever is interested to know more about the project. But this is a very important slide. Like what it is doing, basically, the solution itself has what functionality. So if you can see on the slide, it is like having 12 different applications. So that's why we call it Matchlock Suite, and all the 12 different applications are offering different functionalities, and some are like for the stage 1, 2, 3, and some are for the only one single stage, and some are for the two stages, etc. So I'll, in coming slides, I'll give you a brief like what application is doing what and in what stage of the pandemic it is useful. But still the architecture is very flexible, and the government authorities can let us know how we can contribute further for their assistance. The first application is the care, like as the name suggests, it is basically the handling the, or the functionality is more on the side of the pandemic's healthcare side. So it is a WHO compliant application, and protecting the data layer and the private healthcare information. Same, the workflows are all happening in the pandemic operations are basically protected by the malicious cyber actors and all that. So this is sort of a screenshot and some benefits of the system. Like you can see, if we'll see, there is an option of addressing the reconciliation of a patient safety. Again, a very critical part in handling the healthcare situation, streamlining the other operations, identification process, so on and so forth. So this, the first part of the application or the suite is basically addressing this area. Then comes the Verity information management system. All of countries are basically having some app or website. And what is that app and website is giving value? It is basically giving the information, insights, what is happening, how many new cases, unfortunate deaths and all that, recoveries, etc. But if you go and see, these are all centralized applications or websites. So there is a scope of hacking. At the same time, there is always a like a, if you'll go and see, there's always a time lag there, like last updated 30 minutes back, 1 hour back, etc. So now on a blockchain you have a big strong feature that it is a real time, almost near real time update of every piece of data. So whatever is getting updated in the system, new tests, their results, new people going into isolation, new areas being coordinated are coming under the smart lockdown. Whatever is happening in the system or in the country is updated on real time basis. And you cannot say that it's tempered data, because again, then there is a new entry in one part of the country for a positive case, because of the nature of the blockchain, even the governments cannot temper it. They cannot fabricate the data, they cannot manipulate it. So whatever is happening on ground is getting reflected in the media, in the, for the public, in their app or in their website. So that's the benefit of having the Matchlock Verity. And so on, you can see there are graphs and other visuals which are always very important for the different authorities to make insightful decision making. The third application is about supply chain. Again, when we talk about pandemic, there are different functionalities and different roles the authorities have to perform. One of that role is to keep the supply chain intact of medical side, and of at the same time critical, sometimes in some cases food. There are smart lockdowns, there are like situations when there are some manufacturing facilities are down, and there is like a cordon for or the stoppage for the port activities. But if you don't have the visibility on some system, what's, where is the blockage and where you need that supply chain to remain open, then it is a difficult decision. And even if that is happening on ground, you are not there is no visibility or trackability for you as a procurement agency of the government. If you have procured masks, if you have procured ventilators for the oxygens and for the positive patients in hospitals, if you have some other critical goods which are needed for the pandemic management, and you are not having a visibility, where is the stoppage or where is the what is the stage of the shipment and etc., then it's a, again a very terrific consequences you can face. So you need a visibility of the supply chain to smoother all of the operations. So this application is basically doing that, and also it will be reducing the cost because it is automating the procedures, and there is less HR involved. Records are simultaneously available to the entire like ecosystem or supply chain, shippers, regulators, etc. So end-to-end visibility of the whole supply chain. So this is what this application is bringing in. Then there are relief efforts, which in different countries there are different types of relief efforts are happening. Some are giving relaxation in the taxation, some are giving direct money to the some sectors, businesses, subsidies, like direct money to the poor people, etc. So this is all happening at the moment. Different government authorities are doing this kind of a thing. Now, when you don't have a trust on government, for example, in many cases there is a trust deficit with the government, and you cannot rely that okay, if I'm donating $1,000, is it going into the COVID budget for COVID relief efforts, or is it going into the payments of some debts and all that of the government? Are they are misusing it? So this application is basically giving the whole visibility of the penny being given by the government, by received by the government from the public, and then given it back to the public deservingly who are in this case of COVID. And then there's a Matchlock integrator. Like this is the application which I mentioned you in an earlier stage, that not in every case you have to give a new solution to the or a revamped solution to the government authorities. You can integrate their already used system with the layer of blockchain. That's a very effective thing. Blockchain can be playing a role of a middleware in this situation, a very different use case. Normally there are use cases of applications, but here we are using blockchain as a middleware to connect the different systems of authorities. Again, more connectivity there will be, the more data cohesion there will be, and it will be helpful for the decision makers. So we are connecting them, their existing applications, bringing them on one common dashboard. Again, that dashboard will be very helpful to facilitate the decision making, cooperation level, analysis of the upcoming trends, and reporting, etc., etc. So these are all benefits coming through this particular application within the suite. Moving forward, a very important application that is known as like Matchlock Credential. It is basically giving a certificate of an authorized certificate from the government authority that yes, this person was tested and he turned out to be positive, and I can then fly showing that digital certificate on blockchain to an airport official, so that he understands, okay, yes, this is a government based result, and it is in my log now. I have traveled 7 times in last 2 3 months during the pandemic. Every time when I was traveling before embarking, and once I'm we uh, reach to the destination, they do again the test and all that. So, but there is no centralized record of that. Especially, it has not been shared with the other country. If I have been tested in one country, the other country has no record that I was tested for COVID and what was my result. Even if I was negative at some stage, no credential for that. No one has any record that this person was negative, and then he was into the isolation or enforced quarantine or hospitalized, given a treatment, and finally he is out of that part, and there is no such record. So there should be one common certificate being issued to any person that this person was tested and this was the result. In case of unfortunate death, then again you can issue the death certificate on the system. In case of the person becoming negative, yes, you can issue the certificate that the person was positive, and after such and such treatment, this and this date, that person become the negative for the status of the COVID. Matchlock Trace, currently the world has come to understanding that you cannot 100% do apply the lockdown situations. You still have to keep alive some of the economic activity, some of the social activity, and that again with the help of data and the system you can do. So we have this Matchlock Trace, which is a track and traceability app, but not for the situation of the country level. It's for the confined area, for the airport. If there is a requirement, if there is a provision of 30 people inside one hall, the airport authorities can assess the, okay, with this help of with the help of this app, that there are only 30 people inside that hall. Similarly, in the malls, you can, if you know that with the social distancing parameters, you can have only 500 people inside at one given time. You will have a complete visibility where those 500 people in that mall are they are adhering the social distancing or not. If there is a shop within the mall which can hold only 6 people under the social distancing SOPs, so you have a visibility and you can notify by SMS alert to the individual who is not adhering, and also the shopkeeper as well, that at the current moment you have more than 6 people. Please ask someone to come after once the person will leave from the shop, etc. So this is a very helpful tool again in that situation. for the SOP implementation. And this one is the AI based app, very helpful in terms of the accuracy of the diagnosis. We all know that again the testing facility at the moment for the COVID is not 100% accurate. There is a possibility of error, but that error can be removed if you double the check it with the, not again with another PCR, with medical imaging. And that kind of a medical image we will take from your lungs, from the patient's lung. And this on the left, if you see, this is a normal lung x-ray. It can be a the CT scan, it can be a ultrasound image as well. So any kind of a medical image performed on the lungs, you the system can identify whether the person is positive or negative. In this case, it is not just identifying the positive status of the patient, it is also highlighting at the same time the three different classifications of the COVID impacting the different parts of the lungs. Now imagine this has another advantage. It's not just going to give the status of the person and the status of the impact of the virus. It can be used for the progression tracking of the disease. Like for example, if this is the day one, imagine then there will be day three. The green area is shrinking and the blue area is getting expanded, and red is already eliminated. So the doctors will identify, okay, already that this part is finished. This is they need to take care of, and this is also contracting. So again, the more focus they have to give is on the green classification of the virus. So they will not do experiments on their own. They will have a good visibility of the impact of the virus with the proper classification on the lungs, and then they will provide the right kind of a treatment in that situation when they have a good visibility and they know the progression is happening. It is shrinking, it is growing up. One, what side of the COVID is like growing, or what side is like shrinking. So the treatment will be very accurate in that regard. Insights will be there. So this is another AI app which again will assess the health of the health and progress of the contracted patients, and AI models will ensure that the patient gets early, right, and consistent treatment. Again, to facilitate the front end healthcare officials to give more accurate and also be more confident about their treatment. This AI based app is going to identify the uh, predict the next forecast, where the potential outbreak will happen, what will be the impact, and how it can be reduced before becoming a spread. So this AI based algorithm or machine learning based app will be helpful in that regard. Another AI based app which will identify the or predict the individual's immunity grade. Now, it's a very simple formula been used in the world that anyone who is more than 50 or 55, 60 is classified under the high risk category. Not the case. In many cases, like they are more fit than me or younger than 30 years old people. So, but there is no criteria or there is no calculation or metrics at the moment. So you need to use some system, and this is the system that is going to help the authorities to predict the two areas. One is the immunity grade in the individual, and second, it can also identify what will be the severity of COVID attack on this individual. Again, that will be done by the AI system or algorithms who will calculate or estimate with the help of number of factors. What kind of a work that person is doing, what is the health situation, what was the previous health history, so on and so forth. There are overall 20 plus variables that will be going into this algorithm, and then there will be an estimation of two areas again, immunity grade and what could be the severity of the COVID itself on the person. So that will again help the authorities to replace that guy from the front end position to a back end position. They will not expose the person for the like, even in the cases or case of the healthcare officials, there are some there, if the immunity is good, if the severity of infection will be less, the chances for is less are less, then you can put that person into the emergency ward. Otherwise you can pull it off and even ask the person to stay at home if that person has a low immunity, and at the same time the chances for the infection severity is very high. So then you can also predict that or plan that person not to get exposed in those situations. Last but not the least, we are all moving towards the situation when there will be a mass campaigns of vaccination in the country. So again, the system is required to plan it very well. It's going to be a mass campaign, and then you there can be multiple steps. So you need to have a good procurement procedures, good planning where it needs to be administered, where it needs to be distributed first, target first, and so on and so forth. So, and trackability of the results as well. You are not sure that one shot of the vaccination will do its result. So even if you are doing multiple shots, then you have to keep the trackability alive. So this is the last but not the least of the, it's going to be a vaccinations management system for the entire country. System will not stay here. It can move up and be scalable. It can become a nationwide e-healthcare record system. It can be used as the holistic supply chain or procurement management system. It and eventually it can become a global research and development initiative. So it's not just thought of the COVID situation. It has the features or architecture to move on and be scalable. There is a brief intro available on the YouTube channel of this, and this is the team behind the core team behind. We are a UAE based company. It's a CSR initiative of ours for the public and community. And this is these are our advisors from the healthcare and technology side. Some of the team members, there's like a big team, but there's some of them I highlighted. This is the portal. Someone can have a look, and this is a high level architecture. Again, I will not go into the deep details of that thing. Also, my time of 30 minutes is getting up. Same is the case with the integration, how we will do the integration or data migration between the systems, what are the major technological features of this system, and finally we've been promoted so far and acknowledged by the different medias. CNBC was the latest, which I couldn't enter into this slide till now, but anyways, that was the last interview they did of our contribution. So that's it from my side. I'll be um, asking Sergey to do the Q&A now, and will be very encouraging everyone to ask questions so that we can have a very fruitful and insightful discussion.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. It's very great. And for now, we have one question from Slava, and he's interested, how many business implementations have you already got?
Yeah, we are in the process of doing it to several authorities. The challenge is, of course, what we have developed is white labeled, and because we were using the WHO guidelines to develop these solutions. But now, when the authorities are assessing are for the implementation of these solutions, they need some customization, and we are in the process of going through with those customizations. And once that will be finishing, we will be rolling them out in different 4 to 5 countries at least in coming weeks.
Okay, and if we are talking about these authorities, so what like main challenges are there to bring the system to life and to make it work for everyone? So maybe there helps somehow, maybe there is some ways to improve the process of communication. Maybe there are some other third parties involved. Can you please describe this ecosystem?
A very good question. Thank you for asking. And there are two sides of challenges we are facing, and of course, we'll continue facing. First one is the technology challenge, and the second one is the social challenge or the business side of the challenge. Technology challenge is not that big, although it was a big in initial stage, because if you have if you do a googling of blockchain solutions, not many production grade blockchain enterprise solutions are deployed in the world at the moment. We are still the blockchain is in infancy stage, and for last 2 3 years Most of the government authorities are using, our enterprises are using POCs to test this technology. Some have taken it to the level of pilot stage, and very few have adopted it for the live situations or production grade situations. So, for us as the main contributor of the system, at the same time, for others to see it as a production grade solution was initially a challenge. So, we had to uplift our game as well. At the same time, the authorities and the different potential users, they were assessing it in a very, very careful manner, that how sustainable the system is, what is the technology breakdown kind of element and all that. So this was the technology side situation, our challenge. The second, social or the business side, our implementation side challenge is bigger. You rightly mentioned there are many players when it comes to the deployment. It is not for one authority only, or the user base will not be just one organization or one department. It will be multiple organizations and multiple departments and multiple individuals, in some cases, citizens. So, again, the technological problem is not there, that the penetration testing and all that, that's all been done, that's all been solved. Bit of a challenge, but again, not a big one. The bigger one was to bring the ecosystem on one system. That is, and that will remain the challenge for all of the blockchain based decentralized or distributed systems. We were expecting it, and of course, we are facing it. And at the same time, we are like uh, very much hopeful that this is going to be one of the first drops for the enterprise blockchain solutions, because it is a needed solution. So, and the enforceability from the government is there. So once people will test the enterprise blockchain solutions in the live situations and are at the production grade situations, they will have more confidence on this technology. And then they will also realize that this is a team game. Not one system will do. They have to go for multiple systems, but with the integration approach. And that's the challenge at the moment we are facing. We are expecting to face it in coming months as well. But we were ready for it, and we know that this is a change management case, not just a digital transformation case. It's a change management system. People have to learn the benefits of using distributed systems or decentralized, semi-decentralized systems in this case. So yeah, this is something I think a big challenge, but again, we are ready for it.
Yes, and if you are talking about from a government point of view, maybe they give, like, for what I know, there is like sort of to accelerate the pace of development of such technologies, they give some exceptions in regulations, etc., some sandboxes. Can you tell a little bit more about this? Do you apply for such things, or how it works?
Uh, we
Because
are,
yeah.
yeah, okay. Again, a very good question. But again, the point here is that we are offering technology, and that this technology is not like under a deep framework of regulations, because it's like operating system, and operating systems like the Linux or the Microsoft, they are not coming under the radar of the regulators. Yes, but AI application and some of the compliance matters we have to adhere. HIPAA compliance, HI7 compliance, because we are dealing with the healthcare data here and healthcare workflows. So for those compliances, yes, we are adhering, and also we are adhering GDPR, which again doesn't come under any kind of a regulations outside of the Europe, but still we know that how critical it is for the privacy of the data of individuals. We don't want anyone's information, private information, healthcare information to get exposed. So it has to remain private, and GDPR is a good compliance for that. And as your question is that yes, what type of compliances, regulatory? procedures we are for adhering. Yes, mainly healthcare. And when it comes to the data, it is like the GDPR what we are complying.
Okay, and here we have like multiple questions. Let me structure it a little bit in the following way. So you have talked about the GDPR, and we have questions about what's the architecture and underlying blockchain system we are currently using, and very interesting question about the product development life cycle, taking into account that the GDPR can change,
Okay,
and you have like
these are
different.
all very good questions, but I'll be appreciating if they will come one by one because they are
Okay,
very good questions. So if
okay,
you'll
let's start
ask
with
one by one.
the blockchain system, like the architecture, the technology, because there are multiple types of blockchain, open, closed, etc. So what do you use? It's like one blockchain or multiple blockchains. Can you tell a little bit more about this?
Yeah, sure. That will be good. Again, a good question. That what type of architecture we have used? Again, it's a production grade. If you see the name, it says Matlock Suite. So it's an application suite of applications. But within the suite of application, there are 12 applications. One blockchain we have used, that is our in-house blockchain named as Accelerator. That is also with our company's name. You have seen the name of that blockchain what we have used. It has two sides, public blockchain and permission blockchain layer. We have used because the use case was suggesting that we have to go for a permission side of the blockchain. So we have used one blockchain for the all of the 12 applications. Seven are done now and five are still under the production situation. So the answer is very easy that and if I use this architecture layer, yeah, so this will explain a little bit more that this is the distribution layer architecture. We have, of course, like there is always a case of a database, storage of the data, off-chain data, database in the database. Then there's a control layer. Then there are API gateways and microservices layer, and final layers are the user interface layer or the application layer. So this is the overall, we can say, high-level system design, and the one blockchain, but 12 different dApps or decentralized applications we have put on the system. So that's, I think, the answer of your question. What is the high-level architecture?
Okay,
And
and
within that question, the answer of that question is that we have used microservices, and that can be scalable in later stages for one particular workflow. If there is a enhancement, there is a new volume, we can use or it is a horizontally scalable.
yes, it sounds really interesting to have like in-house built blockchain. It's very, very nice. And could you also tell like the development cycle, how you come up with this like idea? Have you had any pivots? Like what research you have done preliminary? How so the path you have come from the idea to the current implementation and the readiness level of the current state of your technology. So can you
Excellent
tell this?
question again. Thank you for asking this. The idea was, I think it came in the last week of March when things were blowing up out of the proportion. And some of our current projects, which we were at that time, what we were doing, were going on pause. Like, why was the pause? Because, of course, everything was going into the shutdown mode or lockdown mode. So we were working aggressively with the government authorities, and the government authorities, when they were moving towards the remote work or work from home kind of a situation, they were not ready for that. And they asked us that, okay, we need 10 to 15 days to get ready again in a working situation. And meantime, we have to because we were gathering requirements, we were engaging them for the testing of our different projects, modules, etc. So they suggested a break of 2 weeks or so. And from the beginning, I'm like in this space for last 4 years, and I have given so many keynotes and been involved in a lot of panel discussions and off the stage discussions with the experts and newcomers, that what will be the right use case of blockchain, especially for the society, for the smart cities and all that side. So because I was thinking a lot on that point, and then finally when I was like thinking, okay, this is the probably the one of the best use cases of blockchain, that if you are using it, if you are not using blockchain now in the pandemic management situation, when you will use it? Of course there's a big use case of a finance side, but in the government side, now is the time, because it is now bringing the ecosystem together. The value of blockchain is that it is again a team game. It is an enabler for a sharing of the data in a trusted way, in an authentic way. So many other benefits. If there are like audience which are savvy with the blockchain, they can endorse that this is probably one of the best use cases of blockchain, and especially going for the production grade blockchain solution. Because as I mentioned earlier, from last 2 to 3 years, many of the government agencies, banks, enterprises, they were exploring blockchain as a POCs and pilots, but they were hesitant to take it to the next level on production. Now, again, this gave us the opportunity to test it in the scenario where it is a valid use case, and at the same time, there was an absence of legacy technology, because the governments had to start again for this particular system, pandemic management. Now, if you are doing something new, you can use the emerging technologies. But sometimes what happens is most of the digitization in the world has already happened, except few countries, or there are some sectors which are still behind. But most of the areas are covered with some side of the digitization. So upgrading it is a bit difficult. Like it's going from 3G to 4G. When you will assess, okay, how much is the value of 4G? Shall I go for 3G to 4G, because it involves a lot of investment as well. Then when there will be a 5G, also there is a 5G now, so you will have to assess, okay, should I go from 4G to 5G? Now this situation of an empty playground gives the governments or authorities or relevant users the opportunity to test the technology with the emerging technology, going right from straight to the 5G rather than evolving from 2G, 3G, 4G to 5G. This is a good opportunity, I believe, and that was one of the idea that yes, this is the right time for the blockchain, because again, it's an empty playground, and if
Yes, there is no
now
competitors and nobody's in the field and no such systems in the world. So it's
some
100%
functionalities,
vulnerable.
yeah, like if there are 12 applications in all for the matchlock suite, and there are different competitors and different functionalities, not one single competitor for the whole suite. So that was our USP, that we were bringing the whole pack of applications to integrate and get the best out of the overall system. But yes, track and traceability applications are there which are in competition. Then there are some healthcare management systems, disease management systems, isolations, testing lab systems, supply chain management systems, yes. So relief management systems, but standalone, not in an integrated manner. So again, your question is very valid. Is that again, if you see that with the integrated approach, the authorities are not seeing things in silos. They are seeing things in an integrated manner and probably on one common dashboard. So that is more valuable rather than handling different functionalities in a different manner. Better to handle them in a cohesive manner and get best and optimum results.
So it looks like that you have started on March, and what is the current readiness of the whole system,
Yes,
of the whole suite?
the idea was in the March, but I think we took another 2 months to design it first before going into the development phase, which was late May or mid May, I guess. The whole month of April, we were in the design phase, and especially first, it was my idea, and then I had to get a buy-in from the board of our company or the group. So they realized this is a good initiative for the society, so we should be going forward with it. But we didn't just jumped into the development. Okay, no, this is the situation and we have to come up with a quick solution. No, we went onto the drawing boards, and we planned it very tactfully, that okay, if we'll bring something in 6 months from now, we were having a good clarity that we are starting the development probably by May, and then we will be bringing the finished good by October or November, etc. So by then it should be having the features which are required for the second stage of the pandemic, which is the response stage. So we were planning it in this way, and also we were planning in this way that by then it should be able to integrate with the existing systems, because currently every government authority is having some kind of a management system which is helping them to tackle the situation. There are gaps because they didn't do the structured approach, took the structured approach. Secondly, they didn't have the time and luxury of designing it properly and using the compliance features and all that. And third, very importantly, they didn't use, I'm 100% sure none of the application used our management system in the world at the moment is on blockchain. And this is again a big feature or differentiator. So we took our time to plan with these all features and what will be the fit for the market in the month of October, November, etc. So that's why there is like a span of a few months for designing it, developing it, testing it, and finally now bringing it for the. And now we are in the customization stage before deploying it in a month or so.
Do you often like making pilots of your like the later stage products of this 5 or this 12?
If
So
you
do you
please
change the
repeat,
plans from initial what you have created because of new knowledge, because of new like experience you have gained during these months?
wonderful question you're asking. Yes, it happened again several times during the development phase as well. Sometimes the situation got different because again we were dealing with the unplanned kind of a situation. This has never happened. The last history of any pandemic is 100 years back. So not much scenario we had in our like R&D for us to do R&D on that. Not much data was available, not much time was available from the government authorities to give us the right requirements because they were handling first hand situation, which is handling the patients and the situation. So there were like, of course, reworks were there, redesigning POCs, then pilots, and then we finalized it. And we knew this that whatever we will do, it will still require some customization and the final touch from the authority or the user itself. So yes,
I
there
see.
was like we use agile methodology, which is I think one of the best thing we experienced, and we can certainly endorse to other like software developers or the dev people that yes, it's a very good methodology to use in such situations when you are not very clear with what kind of requirements you will be having, and even if you have the requirements, they will get changed in some weeks or some months from now. So agile is good help for us.
I see. Sounds very interesting. And our audience is also interested in the business model you have and how much does it cost to build such platform and how do you monetize it, etc. So can you shine a little
The
bit
first
on this?
deployment will not be monetized. As I said, we started it as a CSR, but to sustain its further development, this from first onwards, we will do the monetization, but again on non-profit basis. So we have not, because since we are still in the stage of the first deployment, we have not estimated what will be the non-profit numbers for different applications. But again, there is a variable, there are some variables involved when it comes to the deployment or the pricing of this in the second stage. For example, what will be the number of applications that authority or that government will be using? One application or all 12? Few, five, three, and what will be the scope? Will they ask for us to do some customization, which involves, of course, some effort and work? And if they are ready to deploy it without any customization, the third factor will be with we are like happy to transfer the technology. Will they maintain it on their own, or will we have to give some resources to them for maintaining and upgrading the system? Another variable involved is whether they will go for on-prem deployment on premises deployment, or whether they will use cloud based deployment. So all these have their own factors which will come into play before we give any number. Even if we are doing a non-profit sale, or not, I shouldn't call it a sale, but even if we are deploying a non-profit uh, thing, but still there will be a cost associated from second round. The first round, as we said, is completely from our side as a CSR and initiative to the society.
I see. Sounds very interesting. And taking about the idea of the global system. So as far as I understand, to work correctly, it should be like worldwide in the final end. So how do you plan to scale from current state to this like global system?
The
So who should be
scalability,
involved?
yeah,
Exactly.
scalability was from the very beginning in our mind that we didn't want to it to confine as COVID management system only or pandemic management system. These all 12 different applications can be scaled up individually to become a complete our individual systems of on their own after the COVID situation or beside the COVID situation. Then where we want to go from this point onwards. We are currently doing it with three to four different government authorities, but we want to do it in like every country of the world. For that, we need support. We need joint venture partners who are already in the business of tech or in the space of healthcare, because this is a health tech kind of a project. So the best combo is that the JV partners have to be savvy with the technology, and at the same time they have good healthcare understanding as well. So this is our future plan. This is something we are working on as well, and this is what I will invite with the help of this webinar, that to the other people, that if any company, any individual wants to collaborate with us to like extend the value of the system, then of course we are we will highly welcome that.
I see. And we have some very interesting questions in the chat for now. So one of the questions was related about platform testing for security, performance, and stability. Because if we go like large, we want it to be secure, stable, and scalable. So can you comment on this a little bit?
Yes, again, the time of the implementation where it is taking some gap or the way it is taking some time is again that thing. We, along with those authorities who are testing it before going live, are taking care with the we want to go with the full confidence that if we are promising a full complete secrecy of the private data and a tamper proof system and a resilient system, then it has to be backed by the words, whatever, backed by the performance itself, not just the words we need to tell. So that's what our QA team and plus the user acceptance teams of different like authorities we are working with are doing at the moment. So they are in the test phase or QA phase.
Okay, and for example, how to persuade the other parties like the governments who don't want to give their citizens data, or the people itself, that it is secure and it's reliable, so they can use it and can help with this, and not to say, oh, we don't want to share the data because we are scared,
Data will
etc.
remain with them. We are not like the, uh, as I said, there are two ways of deployment. One deployment method is the on-premises, and that is in government, most of the cases, they have their on-premises data centers. So whatever the data, even if it is in the blockchain, we are not, that's why I said we have both variants, public blockchain and the permission blockchain setup. So we could have asked, or we could have designed the system on our public blockchain. So then the data visibility could be with us in that case on Maximo blockchain. But now we are deploying a permission blockchain setup on their cloud or on their premises. So the whole data on chain and off chain, that is with the authority itself, and we are not like having any kind of a visibility with that. And even if they are keeping it with them, Still, and they are sharing the data with different stakeholders. It is highly encrypted with the cryptographic like a method. So that's the beauty of this blockchain thing, that there is a layer of security and integrity involved with the data.
So all this data is encrypted, secure, and no one
Yes,
can
that's
access it
that's the
without.
main USP of blockchain. That
Yes.
when you are using it for the enterprise side or government side, I think then the main benefit you are extracting from blockchain is basically the integrity of the data and workflow as well. Let's not forget about the workflow as well. How it's been gathered, who has entered the data, who reviewed it, who proved it. If there was some medication been given to some patient, there has to be that workflow has to be in the blockchain, not just the medical uh, workflow, the entire administrative workflow as well. Who has ordered the the order of the what we can say, the mask or ventilators. If someone has ordered 50% of what is actually required, then you can have a traceability and you can look out to that individual or that department or that company authority, that look, there was the error, and you can pinpoint the culprit, or so that it won't be repeated. We are not saying that blockchain is a solution of every thing, it will eliminate all of the discrepancies in the system, but at least it is enabler to identify those discrepancies so that in future they can be minimized, if not eliminated.
I see. Okay. And let's talk about the future. So for now, what we see, there was no such pandemic management systems before, and that's one of the reasons why we got this COVID globally spread. And I'm wondering what the impact will be for the world. So how the world will change with such kind of systems, like 5, 10 years. So, for example, if we had a time machine and we just teleported to, I think, 5 years ahead, so what the uh, major changes are waiting for us, so what we will see in this time period.
Yes, look, COVID has brought another thing in our life, and that is the pace of acceleration for the digitization or digital transformation is multiple times faster now. What we were visualizing the world in 2030, now I think we will see that world in 2023. So it's that kind of acceleration we are observing, we are experiencing, and we will continue experiencing. So COVID has brought things into the acceleration mode when it comes to the digitization. Whether it's remote work, that's also another byproduct of COVID. It was there earlier, but it was not very well accepted, and at the same time the mass adoption was not there. Now the world has tasted the fruit of remote work or work from home kind of a thing. So it will stay with us, and it requires the layer of integrity between the employer and employee, business and business. If they are not interacting physically with each other, they need a authentic technology to, or secured a trusted technology to enable that exception of physical interference. So in case of, I think moving forward, we need blockchain and AI more than ever before, because it will help the bringing in the trust and efficiency as well. Because AI is basically bringing the efficiency part, and blockchain will bring the integrity part. If you are doing a lot of your business on blockchain, whether it's like your work from home kind of a thing, whether it's like the contracts you will be signing for a major shipment, even a small contract of like $5 like a deal, still if there is an integrity layer for that contract platform, then you have more confidence and you will proceed it further. Otherwise you will wait, you will say, okay, yes, let the COVID situation go off, and then we will do this project, and when we then we will sign this project, because we cannot still trust on those things. So, and this is what we are facing in the world at the moment. The bigger projects are on halt because there is no travel happening between the countries. Yes, intra country travel is there, but in many cases the international travel is basically not happening at the moment. It's 20-30% of the whole travel, we were experiencing before the COVID situation. So the moving forward, I think the role of emerging technologies will be very, very intensive and will be very valuable.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it looks like that everything will fasten and we will have these technologies integrated in our daily lives. It will help to prevent like other pandemics that might come. And it is very, very, very nice thing that you are developing. And I want to wish you all the luck with development and implementation and the support from all the levels and all the parties. And audience, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Uh, because it was very pleasure to talk to you. And if you could tell, also I have one more question, if you could tell a little bit more about AI part. So for now, as I see, it's mostly like classification for the images. Maybe you have like other AI algorithms or in mind other ways of analyzing the data, maybe making some predictions. Can you tell a little bit more about from this side? Because we have heard from blockchain, it is very interesting, and a little bit more details from AI side.
Yes, AI, like the main component AI has overall several like domains within it, but main domain of AI which we are using mostly in Matchblock is the machine learning side. So a lot of algorithms we are working on to help the healthcare side to predict the accuracy, to predict the different kind of disease treatments. If you will just visualize IBM Watson. So we
Mm.
are trying to replicate IBM Watson for COVID virus disease at the moment. So of course the Watson's role is far more wider, and we are using the machine learning algorithms for a narrow kind of domain, which is the COVID. And also the challenge here is that AI works on data, and data still, although we are in the like eighth or ninth month of the COVID in like a simple situation, it's a 9 month old kind of situation. So still, the data is not that big for the AI to play a big role at the moment. Yes, but moving forward now, if you work on your algorithms and keep on refining them, keep on feeding them the data from the multiple sources of a multiple types, of course they will grow. So AI needs IBM Watson again. If I'll refer again the example of IBM Watson, it evolved. It came up in the early late 90s, and then now we are seeing the right value because the size of the data in it is like that much. So it has so much of a data inside. The ontologies are there, so it can comprehend the data analytics and all that. Similarly, the situation of the COVID now is that it has limited data, but and that limited data has to be fed in a very structured way for the algorithms to grow. And then once they will grow at certain stage, they will start becoming giving the accurate predictions. So it's early time for AI to start to give heavy contribution in the COVID situation. But still, we are using it, and many other companies are also bringing AI factors into the pandemic management situation, mainly on the machine learning side.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very, very interesting webinar, and we are very glad to have uh, come and to hear everything you have told us. And I wish everything, all good luck for your platform to succeed. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for
Yeah,
having me, and thank you everyone for listening and asking a wonderful questions. Uh, you have my contact details on the slide, and reach out for any kind of further question or clarity on any applications, feature, etc. are contributing in this cause to the humanity. Thank you very much, everyone.
thank you. See everybody on the next webinars and have a great day and have a great time.
See you. Thank you. Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Okay,
Stay
cheers.
safe.